Gold for Argentina, silver for Italy, bronze for the USA.
At the 2004 Summer Olympics, the U.S. men's basketball team fielded a roster captained by Allen Iverson and Tim Duncan, together with top rookies Carmelo Anthony, Dwyane Wade, and LeBron James leading the charge. With such a stacked team, everyone expected them to win the competition, but the team suffered an embarrassing defeat to Argentina that saw them finishing third in the competition.
This game will go down in the annals.
This was a reminder of how far the squad had fallen from the heights of the original Dream Team that brought the US so much acclaim. 2 decades after that humiliating defeat, the 2024 US men's basketball team is being plagued by the untold curse of the Dream Team. The untold curse. When the first Dream Team was put together for the 1992 Olympics, it featured some of the best players to ever represent the United States on the international level. We are talking of legends like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen, and more. The only reason why it was even possible to field such players was the rule change by FIBA, which allowed professional players from the NBA to compete in the Olympics for the first time ever. With that type of firepower, you would expect them to easily destroy anyone in a game of basketball, and they didn't disappoint. The original Dream Team was so dominant, they won all their games with an average margin of 44 points and put the fear of God in any team that dared to face them. In the years following the 1992 Barcelona Olympics, no other team has even come close to touching the Dream Team's greatness, and it has had a devastating effect on future US basketball teams. Despite not touching the heights of the original Dream Team, Team USA still dominated international basketball with several Olympic wins and a few FIBA World Cup victories. Those wins satisfied the average basketball fan, but after years of playing on the international stage, the US men's basketball team experienced a humiliating defeat in Athens that would change the face of the sport as we know it. For the first time since the Dream Team was created, the US men's basketball team was forced to take third place after being schooled by a team from Argentina. Coming off the embarrassing loss at the Athens Olympics, the United States and the US men's basketball team were put in a hard position, as the birth country of the sport, being defeated by Team Argentina felt like having a knife shoved in the gut. There was no way they could allow a repeat of the dreadful performance at the next Olympics, so the iconic Redeem Team was put together to show the world that it was still America's sport. The pressure to win was immense, but with the likes of Kobe and LeBron running the show, they managed to remind the world how good they can be when everything comes together. Following the success at the Beijing Olympics of 2008, everything seemed to go back to normal, but it would only take 2 decades for the US men's basketball team to show the world how far from grace it had fallen. The 2023 FIBA World Cup was a disaster on all counts for the US men's basketball team. After finishing in 7th place at the previous World Cup, it was an opportunity to wipe the slate clean and remind the world of its greatness on the international stage. Despite heading into the competition as favorites, Team USA could only manage a 4th place finish, with the likes of Canada and Serbia finishing ahead of the supposed powerhouse of basketball. Most fans pointed out the lack of star power in the team as the main reason for the US men's basketball team's failure on the international stage, but some believed it was karma for its past success with the Dream Team of 92s. Whatever reason you'd like to go with, one thing that remained true was the massive amount of pressure on Team USA to try to emulate their dominance in the early 2000s. With back-to-back defeats at the FIBA World Cup, the 2024 Paris Olympics was the perfect opportunity to redeem itself in the eyes of basketball fans all over the world. The first thing on the list was putting together a team that would drive fear into the hearts of their opponents at the Olympics. Unlike the World Cup, which featured a lot of youngsters, the US men's basketball team went all out with the roster representing the country at the Paris Olympics. With elite ballers like Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Joel Embiid featuring on the team, it was clear that Team USA was out for blood. Even though it was never explicitly stated, the team was going into the competition with the idea that it was a gold or nothing challenge. Anything other than gold at the event would prove that America couldn't compete with the rest of the world at the sport it created, and there is nothing more heartbreaking. With a hunger for glory, Team USA will once again be heading into the 2024 Olympics as favorites to win the competition, but the problems are too glaring to ignore. The fact that the competition would be held in Europe using FIBA rules, which are slightly different from what players are used to in the NBA. These rule differences played a huge role in the Athens disaster that led to the 2004 US men's basketball team was nicknamed the Nightmare Team. If they somehow manage to overcome the differences in rules, there is still the problem of missing key players like Paul George, Jaylen Brown, and Kawhi Leonard. Most people don't believe this is a huge setback due to how stacked the current team is, but having watched the development of other countries' basketball teams, Team USA needs all the help it can get. If there is ever a time where being favorites to win isn't a good thing, then being favorites at the Paris Olympics is the worst thing that could happen to the US men's basketball team, and we will tell you why. Aftermath of the competition. Even though Team USA is used to being favorites when it comes to basketball, things are completely different this time with the competition and the looming curse of the Dream Team. Countries like Germany, France, and Canada have dedicated a lot of resources to developing homegrown basketball talents to bulldoze whatever the fields at international competitions. If the US men's basketball team fails to win gold at the Olympics, it will be a monumental failure that has far-reaching consequences for players and the country. The most humiliating being the fact that the United States will lose its status as the home of the best basketballing talents. Anyone can imagine how bad that can be for the image of the NBA, but it will also damage the legacy of players like Steph Curry and LeBron James. Despite being the most dominating hooper we've seen for decades, LeBron still has haters out in the wild who believe he hasn't done enough to be put in the GOAT debate beside MJ. As it stands, LeBron and Michael Jordan are both tied with 2 Olympic gold medals each. A third gold medal at the Paris Olympics might just be what he needs to get an edge over Jordan, and failure to do so will give his haters more firepower to scrutinize him. As for Steph Curry, Paris 2024 is an opportunity to add an Olympic gold medal to his collection. Despite being one of the most decorated players in his generation, this might be Curry's last chance at Olympic gold, and failure to win the US men's basketball team will be an opportunity he can never get again. The last person who will be on the receiving end of the US men's basketball team failing to go all the way at the Olympics is Coach Steve Kerr. While most fans concentrate on the players, Steve Kerr will not be able to avoid scrutiny as the head coach of Team USA. Failure to win at Paris would mean Kerr will go down in history as the manager who lost at 2 consecutive international competitions with the US men's basketball team. There will be no excuse for losing, despite fielding some of the greatest players the game has ever seen. And Coach Kerr might as well forget about ever being head coach for the US men's basketball team. At the end of the day, the NBA would be the most affected if Team USA has a disappointing outing at Paris 2024. Failure to bring the medal home would mean that the NBA isn't the home of the best players in the sport, and trust me, you don't want to live in a world where the NBA doesn't have the best players. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out our other basketball videos because they cover some juicy details you might not find anywhere else. Until next time, keep the spirit of the game alive.